Hello and welcome to Introduction to Ayurvedic Lifestyle Counseling and Yogic Techniques. I'm Kyle McQueen, a certified hypnotherapist, graduate here at HMI, certified in Yogic philosophy and Ayurvedic lifestyle counseling, and that's happened in India, 4,700 feet above sea level. I was taught from Shuklacharya, which an acharya is someone who teaches by example and leads instead of a guru that basically just says, oh, this is what you should do, but that's not what I'm going to do. So basically the teaching that I received was from Shuklacharya, which was handed down from Babaji, which is considered the highest yogi that has ever walked the face of the earth. He manifested himself in a ball of light, and he left in a ball of light. He wasn't born physically. They found him in a cave, okay? And I actually got to go to that cave and meditate there. It was beautiful. It was like silence and peace, and that's the energy of Babaji, and that's the energy that I'm basically bringing to you people today. This is basically handed down from the high yogi masters in India, the source. And basically, Shuklacharya is recognized by India as one of the 108 spiritual counselors recognized by the state of India as a whole. And so I was very fortunate to get in. It wasn't just about the cost. It was basically about being accepted. Just speaking on the phone with him, he was saying, do you have an ego complex? Because I had an alternate name that was spiritual. And I was like, no, I'm coming here to learn from you. I don't have an ego complex that I'm bringing to you. So I mean, he's breaking me down before I even got there, okay? Because it was basically an ego breaking experience, and that's what I needed, so it was perfect. And what I experienced there was a peace and state of mind that is similar to hypnosis, but I just got it naturally through food, and it's a miracle that you can actually do it through food and breathing techniques. Can you bring you into that state of harmony and balance with nature? And that's the goal of Ayurveda, is basically, first off, I'd like to start with yoga, and the goal of yoga is union. Yoga means yoke, or to pull together. So union, what is this union with what though? They say the divine, God, but these are concepts. What union really is speaking about is union with yourself. So you're basically going inside and unifying your body, your mind, and your soul. When I speak of the soul, I'm not saying your soul is something that you own, like this is my soul, and this could go to heaven or hell. This is something that I possess. You don't possess your soul, you are your soul. The soul is you. So the person that is animating this body and is moving this body, the mover of this body, is your soul. And so when I'm speaking of union with your soul, it's basically the goal of yoga, and that is enlightenment. So that's a hefty goal, and it's been obtained by few. They say 1 in a million people ascribe to the yoga way of life to get to enlightenment, basically. And only 1 out of the million that try it actually attain perfection. So it's very difficult to get to enlightenment. So there's actually a smaller mini goal that I like to focus on first that you can attain in this life, definitely, which is a prerequisite to getting to the higher goal of yoga. So what you want to do basically is get to a state of equanimity. What is equanimity? Well, equanimity is basically when you have a stable mind. So if something happens to you in the external world, let's say you win the lottery tomorrow, you won't change and become a different person overnight. You'll still be centered and grounded in yourself, because that's what matters. And then the same thing with equanimity. If you lose your kids, you lose your house, you lose your job, you lose everything. You're walking around with nothing, you will still be comfortable, calm, and collected with yourself, the 3 C's basically, calm, composure, and collected, and be professional with everything in life because you're connected to your inner self. It has nothing to do with the external. So the goal of yoga, you could say, is equanimity. That's the goal of yoga, the first goal. So that's what I'm going to be speaking about from here on out as the goal of yoga, is equanimity. So with that said, basically the goal of Ayurveda and how that came about is a sister science of yoga, because it came about 5,000 years ago. So it's an ancient science, and it's a complete science in itself. So I don't want to say it's a sister science and yoga is the dominant one. Yoga's been around longer. It's been around about 10,000 years or longer, but it's basically the father of Ayurveda, but Ayurveda complements yoga, but it's also complete science, so they're basically one and the same, but separate. So basically what Ayurveda's goal is immortality. It's the idea that the purpose of life is to attain immortality. And it seems like, okay, like you have enlightenment as one goal, and then you have another goal as immortality. That seems kind of far off here. But immortality is equivalent to long life in a way, because like an archer that needs to shoot a target, when they're shooting that target and pulling back and aiming, they aim higher than the actual mark. And the reason why is if they aimed at the goal that they wanted and they shot it, the arrow would fall and it wouldn't make it to their mark. So they need to aim higher. So Ayurveda aims for immortality as its goal, but it gets long life as the product. So I'm okay with something that's aiming for immortality and getting long life. As long as it's producing results, I'm fine with that. And like the life extension has been proven up to 20 years. So someone that would live, let's say, to 100 normally, they're living to 120. So, I mean, if that's life extension, I mean, that's life extension to me. I don't know about you, 20 years is a hefty amount. And the idea behind it is that to reach enlightenment took so many births that you had to keep coming back and being reborn and doing this, and you only have 100 span to even try it, and you don't get started till a certain age, and then you get old and you can't practice yoga anymore and you die, right? So that's a small cycle. So they thought, okay, well, if we can extend the life cycle of this or the years of one life, it would be worth it. And so that's where Ayurveda is coming from. So the science of Ayurveda is the health part of it, and the yoga part is reaching this perfected state, and it's about the energy field, and they both sort of cross paths with that. So now that I went over the goal of yoga and the purpose of that, I want to kind of go into, first off, before I get into the dosha concept, which is a core concept of Ayurveda, I want to also get into the yogic techniques and the exercises you can do with your clients, because this all ties into hypnotherapy, okay? So what I want to do now is just do a simple breathing exercise. This is very simple, so it can be overlooked, but we are very automatic. We do things where we're on the freeway and we're talking, and then we get out the wrong exit because you're speaking, and we do everything so automatic. So I want to make our breathing conscious, something that we don't normally do, but we're going to make it aware. Every day I'd like somebody to basically make a plan. Like if I could recommend something, it would be for somebody to make a plan where they're becoming aware of their breathing throughout the day. If you could have like a tester or something that you just tap yourself and be like, all right, am I breathing? Am I breathing? And it's not just being aware of it, it's deeper breathing. And when you are aware of your breath, you tend to breathe deeply. But this is basically a belly breath. And so what we're going to do is go ahead and just relax your shoulders. Go ahead and pull it forward, pull it back, just all that tension. Just feel it and be aware of it. You don't really have to put it anywhere. Just be aware of the tension that you have, okay? And now what I want you to do is get really comfortable. Put both feet flat on the floor, like you're getting ready to go in hypnosis. I'm not going to hypnotize you guys. Don't worry about it. But you guys are going to be going into a light state. So what we're going to be doing now is go ahead and be breathing through your nose, out through your nose or out through your mouth, whatever feels comfortable with you. Now I want you to be aware of is your stomach muscles, your abdominal muscles. They're normally tight, and we live in a society that is promoting this tightness to look for a certain look. So those people with the six-pack abs, go ahead and drop that idea right now, and just go ahead and relax your abdominal muscles. Just relax them. Feel the air fill up your abdominal muscles, and just feel it puff up. You can go ahead and put your hands on your stomach, and when you breathe in, feel it expand, and hold that expanding until it's fully expanded. Pause, and release it in. Go ahead and feel it pulling in, because you want it to go in as well, and exhale the breath. And go ahead and take another inhale. Feel it expand. Hold it. Release. And one more breath in. Feel it expand and release. And now what we're going to add on to this now is breathe into your stomach now. And what I want you to do is after you breathe in and you have it full, expanding, expanding, expanding full, go ahead and have your chest, now move it up to your chest and puff your chest out. You can go ahead and move your hands up if you want, feel your chest puffing out. So you feel this chest puffing out, and release your chest, let it cave in, and let your stomach muscles contract again, tighten, releasing all. Now release it again, have your stomach muscles release, fill it. Have your chest go out as it's coming up. Now I want you to go ahead and tighten up your shoulders. Tighten up your shoulders so the air is coming all the way up. Imagine it going all the way up to your throat. And releasing. Now release this all the way down to your stomach. And again, down into your stomach. You want this to fill first, like a reservoir of water. into your chest, puffing up, raise the shoulders, release. One last time for me. Go ahead and pull it into your stomach. Expanding, expanding like a balloon. Coming up to your chest, puffing it out, pulling it up, releasing. All the way down, all the way releasing, all the way out. Now stress all the way out. Now go ahead and do the same thing and feel your tension now. Notice how it's less, it's released. You're in a more calm state, right? This is a light state of hypnosis. You might even feel tingling on your fingers. You might notice something of your energy shifting. This is just a basic technique, okay? But this is something that's huge because you can use this even as an induction. So when they're doing a breathing exercise and you add these things on, you're commanding and directing, so you're overloading them, right? You're giving them the information, and then they're doing what you're telling them, so they're getting used to it, sort of like an arm raising, okay? And then when they're already relaxing and they're taking in more oxygen, they're starting to go into hypnosis. And from there, you could do a guided imagery, you could take them on a journey, you could start working with something that they need to do deeply, or you could do the stop smoking. Wherever you want to go from there, that's a good starting point. And it really helps with people that need to go deeply. Because there's some people that come to me and they're like, I just want to feel like I want to go deeper. Why do they want to go deeper? Well, it feels good. Maybe they're not getting enough sleep, I'm not sure. But they want to go deep to get the feeling. So if they're feeling this change already come over them, and then you bring them deeper with a deepening technique, they'll go a lot deeper than just doing an overload to a deepening technique. Because there's an intermediate stage and they're being more comfortable and brought into it, okay? So that's a simple induction that you could do, and I want to kind of everybody relax so we can go over the dosha concept in a relaxed state and everybody not so tense, you know? And so the dosha concept is based on the idea that everybody has an individual prakriti, and what a prakriti is your nature or a dosha. And what a dosha is your individual constitution. So certain people that have a different body type. Everybody has a different body type. So when someone says on some type of fad, like everybody should be eating 6 meals a day, that's the best thing to do, that might not be true for everybody. It might be working for a lot of people that have a vata imbalance, but it doesn't mean that they need that. And what is a vata imbalance? I'm going to get into what a vata, pitta, and kapha is. Basically, a vata is the air element with ether. And a vata person will be very thin, usually. Their bone structure is smaller. They're kind of irregular, so they can have longer arms than their legs. They're a little disproportional somewhere. They tend to have mind problems. If they have problems, it'll be something like anxiety, they'll have insomnia, anything that has to do with the mental disorders that psychiatrics deal with, it has to deal with a vata imbalance. And 90% of the people in America have a vata imbalance. And the reason why is because we have a stimulating environment that is always go, 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 busy, busy, busy. Then you want stimulation on the computer, on the TV. Something is always overloading us. And since we're always being overloaded in our mind, it's creating a vata imbalance, which is too much air. And that's why you see all of the problems that we have that are all in the mind. It's all mind problems. That's why you're hypnotists. That's why you're hypnotherapists. We're here to deal with the mind, and most of the problem is in the mind. So out of 9 out of 10 people you can already say that that person probably has a vata imbalance. And physiologically, that will cause things like, you pass gas because it's like air. So you're thinking of the air quality because it's all about the elements. Some people say mathematics is a universal language. You know, if an alien came down, I could tell him 2 + 2 and he'll probably understand what that is, right? But I would say that the universal language is imagery. Whatever we think, everybody's thinking no matter what you're speaking. And when you think of the elements, everybody really can relate to the elements because we experience them in our daily life. The wind comes out, we have the sunshine for the light, which is fire. We use it for heat. There's elements everywhere, right? And so with these elements, your body's contained all these elements, right? You have these elements in there, but they get out of balance. So when you have an out of balance element, that's what creates disease. So, and also indigestion. It's all about digestion. And when I speak about digestion, I'm not just talking about food. I'm talking about thoughts and emotions. You can also digest these things. When you watch a movie, your consciousness is eating that movie. It's digesting it. So you should really choose your platter wisely. And a good sign that you're digesting well is basically if you can watch a movie and then go to bed and sleep afterwards and be fine. But if you're staying up and you're thinking about the movie and some things like that, you're not digesting it well. Or even a life experience. If you had a life experience but you keep thinking about it over and over again, you can't sleep, you haven't really digested that well mentally and emotionally. So to think about digestion is a key because it's related to health in a large way because your emotions control your health, your physical body. So if you're not feeling good, that's why they say that when you're sick. You don't feel well because you're sick and you don't feel good. So when you aren't feeling good, your vibration is messed up in your energy field. And as you know from EFT with Susie Kappas, the importance of the energy field and it flowing, that flow. You need it to keep flowing. And when it gets interrupted from an element being out of balance, that flow cannot continue. So you have the Vadas, and that's basically the Vata realm is like creativity. Mentally, they can grasp things quickly, but then they also let them go quickly. So when you're working with a Vata person in hypnosis and you're giving them a suggestion, realize that they're going to pick up the suggestion instantly. Instantly, they'll pick up the suggestion. But basically, they can forget it in a flash, and it could be gone. So you have to keep working with them over and over again until it sinks in, right? And that could be the same thing with a routine. Don't get angry at a Vata person if you're working with them, and then all of a sudden they're doing the routine, everything's working, and then all of a sudden week 3 they're off doing their own thing. And you think, what am I doing wrong as a hypnotherapist? I'm doing something wrong, I have to be. But sometimes it's just the person's nature, and they're just being a Vata person, and you can kind of discern, after you get good at this, you can discern, is the person really just having resistance lifestyle, or is the person having a Vata imbalance? Which one is it? So you can find that out. And the next thing I want to speak about is a Pitta. A Pitta person is someone that's very fiery, the fire element, and it's about balancing. Balance and digestion. They can digest basically anything, so they can eat anything. But they definitely don't want to eat stuff that is too hot and pungent. Because if you eat things that are too hot, you're adding a spice element, which is heating, to someone that already is fiery by nature. And you know these type of people, they have red skin almost coming off of them. They go to the gym all the time. They're usually like a physical, you know, because they're like fiery types, so they'll come at you and start like saying, hey, do you want to buy this? Or do you need this? Salesmen, people that are very outgoing and outspoken and like adventure are Pittas, and they like to be competitive. So in sports, you have people that are competing against other people. It's all about domination and control and power, because that's what fire represents. So you have these Pitta people, and to work with these people, they work well when you praise them every time that they do something well. So if they're doing something good, you want to always give them praise and never give them a competition. So never say, well, you're as good as this person or that. They're going to take it in a competition way. You never want to do that. You always want to keep them straight, competing with themselves. And basically what you can recommend for a Pitta is cooling things like sugar. Believe it or not, sugar, most people would say, is no good. Stay away from sugar. Everybody should stay away from sugar, which is mostly true because our diet is full of sugar. You eat a tortilla and it's got sugar in it. Everything has sugar in it. But for a Pitta, they tend to run hot. So you want to give them something that's cooling, and that's the effect of sugar. And basically, you're thinking, well, why are you giving someone tastes like sugar to help them? It's not making complete sense here. Well, the reason why is in Ayurveda, the doshas are the way that we assess the issue. We'll see what is wrong with you, what is out of balance, right? But the way that we treat them through Ayurveda is the taste. And you're like, okay, well, why the taste? Well, the tastes are full of elements. So sweet is full of earth and water. And it's cooling. It has a cooling post-digestive effect. And that's called vipaka. And the post-digestive effect is something you take, and then later you have an effect in the body. So when you take, sweet, something that's cooling, that's what's going to happen to the Pitta, and they're going to have no more, like, let's say, skin inflammation, irritability. Those things are all going to tone down, and like they have like a high blood pressure rate usually, so they're most prone to have a heart attack, and they stress over things. They have like a balance issue. They're always trying to like decide, well, should I do this or should I do that? Well, I could do that, but then if I do that, and then they get lost in their own decisions. They have so many decisions, they're trying to always balance out, and they usually get stressed the most. So that's basically a Pitta. It's the water and the fire element, and the next one is a Kapha, which is earth. It's like a rock. I want you to think about a rock. A rock is solid, it's fixed, it's not going anywhere. So when you want that person, let's say, go work out They're usually the ones that will retain water like salt does, because they're the earth element and water's the secondary of that. So you have someone that's like a kapha that's overweight, and you're telling them, or their friends are telling them, hey, you should probably hit the gym, and they'll be like, oh, I will, They don't really care. They don't really care what you think. They're comfortable with themselves. It's not that they're into themselves, they're just comfortable with how they are. And they might do it for you, maybe, but they're not going to do it for them. They're fine. They don't need fixing. So to move a rock is difficult. So no matter what you do, they're going to be the most difficult ones to move in hypnosis as well. They're not very mind type. They're more centered in their body, in the center of it. So to get to them, they're going to take repetition, 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 repetition. You need to drill it into them until they have it. But once they get it, they're done. They'll never stop. They're always on it. Like, they got it for the rest of their life. And good luck changing that. Once you've hypnotized them on that, good luck changing them out of that. So that's a kapha. So these are the three classic types. And just like the emo and the fizz, you're going to have percentages. So you're not going to have someone that's like, oh, that's 100% kapha over there, and we have 100% pitta. It's not like that. It's usually like you have a vata pitta or a kapha vata. You have different imbalances that are kind of dual in nature. You can have a tridosha, so you're a vata, kapha, and a pitta. But that's very rare. You're not going to normally have a tridosha person. It's very rare. But you can have that. And so it's normally two that are out of balance, because when you have one, the other one sort of sways with it. Like when you have a vata imbalance, you're probably going to have a pitta imbalance, because your mind's so going towards something and it's kind of overloaded and stimulated. The pitta is going to kind of come in and want to perceive more and do more, and it just kind of culminates with each other, which is sort of a bad combination, because the fire and the air, it feeds itself. So a vata pitta person has a high average prone personality to addiction, because it feeds itself, and that's what they're doing. So the way to get them in balance is through the taste. You're offsetting through the taste, which is the elements. Lifestyle changes. If you're a vata person, you want to slow down. You don't want to be going fast, because you're already do, and the way you speak is really fast, and you go. But then you need to take a break and take a breath and just be in the present moment. That's for a vata person, and that's the way that you would do hatha yoga too. When you're recommending, let's say therapeutic asanas or positions for them, you want a vata to slow down. And if you have a pitta, they should just go kind of average, and a kapha person should go fast, because they're so slow. They never move, so they need to actually get going and get moving, so you need to motivate them. Okay, so that's basically the dosha concept. Very lightly, I haven't gone deep in it, because there's like the 5 forms of kapha, there's the 5 forms of vata, and it gets really deep with it, but I don't want to overload you guys with too much information. I want you to grasp it. But I definitely, if you go home with anything, I want it to be the dosha concept. That's what I want you to basically leave here with, an understanding of what vata is, what kapha is, and what pitta is, and what your self is. Because if you know what your self is, you can see that in everybody else, and that will get you started on seeing people sort of like how you see, oh, that's an emo or that's a fizz. I want you to start thinking like that with the vata, pitta, kapha, and tying it into E and P. So you can kind of see that physical and a physical, we recommend not really to be with each other. It can happen. I'm not saying it can't work, but it's because it's fire and fire. So when you're looking at fire and fire, you can say that's a pitta and a pitta. So that's like a physical and a physical, but it's not always 100% the same. So you could have a pitta that's an emo. It's more unlikely to have a pitta emo. If you have, that's a person that's very passive aggressive, very highly passive aggressive, because they want to do things, but they're not able to express the emotion. But what you want to do is basically just start thinking how the elements tie into E and P, and opposites attract. And so you can start kind of getting hints through E and P, whether they're a vata, pitta, or kapha, and you can get hints through vata, pitta, kapha if they're an E or P. So it really works well with the E and P game with that. And it's a new concept as far as relating it to E and P. So if you want to be entrepreneurs with that, go for it. I plan on kind of making something out to connect those things out on a workbook or something. But for now, it's a new concept, but it's definitely connected, and I've seen connections like night and day, like, oh my God, like that person. One thing you'll notice too is it'll help you not only find out what is what, but what isn't. Like if you have someone who's always talking, blah, 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 and you're like, oh, fizz right away, because they're talkative, right? But they could be they could be an emo that's living in their head, but has a vata imbalance, and they're just really excited about the topic they're talking about. They could be like a nerd on something, and they love it, and so they're just blowing up on what they're speaking about. And so you're misjudging, thinking, oh, that person's totally a fizz. But you're not going deep enough. So my advice to you would be to go deeper when you're finding out if someone's an emo or fizz, and not just think, oh, that one's talking and that one loves work, so emo and fizz. Go a little bit deeper than that, you know. And I had brought some tests so you guys can find out what you guys are, and you can bring this home with you, basically. If you can hand this out to the people. You can go ahead and go over this. This is just a basic test you can find on the internet. If you go on Google and type in dosha test, there's a bunch of different tests. This one was pretty good. Some of them are better than others. This basically just goes over the basic qualities. So it's going to ask you your body type. Do you like this? Do you have certain reactions? Because like a kapha person will feel things first, so that's a good thing for suggestions too. If you find out that your client is a kapha, make them feel it first. If you find out they're pitta, make them see it in their mind, visualize. So bring them on a journey where they see themselves and their goal completed. That works well with pittas. They see it and now they're on fire for that goal. And they're already goal-oriented as it is. You have a vata person, you're going to want to kind of do a little more sneaky attack and go in and out. They're better with in and out hypnosis. So instead of doing something like, I brought you super deep and we did one suggestion, now you're out, which would be great for a kapha, you'd want to bring them in, hypnotize them, bring them out, hypnotize them, bring them in, hypnotize them, bring them out. Do it like 3 times in one session. That'll be like a whole 2-3 weeks of sessions for a vata, and they'll get it, they'll grasp it quickly, and then they're going to forget it. So you want to do it again and reinforce that. So that's the dosha concept, and you guys can go ahead and study these and fill them out, and bring them to your family, and if they're interested in doing that, you can do that too, or just do it for yourself and kind of see, okay, I think my mom's this or my dad's this, and just have fun with it, you know, get into it, because it's home play, it's not work, it's something that you want to do that's fun, and get into it, because it's a fun habit once you start doing it. So basically, that's the dosha concept. And what I want to move on to now is Yoga Nidra. Yoga Nidra is something very interesting. It's called sleep yoga. And a lot of people, there's debates everywhere. What is the difference between hypnosis and Yoga Nidra? And there's, on one side, you have people saying hypnosis is a limited form that keeps you in a small consciousness and your sleep. And then another form will say Yoga Nidra has nothing to do with hypnosis. It's completely different. It's a science of its own. And so there's all these different debates, and they're usually coming from one side. Like you have the hypnotist side saying this, and then you have the Nidra side saying this, and it's a bunch of silliness. Really, what I would say, Yoga Nidra, you could say, is a style and art form of hypnosis, but it has its own science, methodology, and purpose behind it that is unique. And I would say if you've ever done hypnosis and you've changed somebody's habits, I don't know how many of you have done that. If you've done that, then you've done a form of Yoga Nidra. Because you can't really do Yoga Nidra without hypnosis, and you can't really do hypnosis doing anything without doing Yoga Nidra. Because you go into the state of hypnosis in Yoga Nidra, but what happens generally is the induction is you're lying down. So you have your client lying on the ground, and what you're doing is you're bringing awareness to like finger points, chakra points, places like that. So it's sort of like a progressive relaxation, but you're doing it in a different way, and they have a resolution at the beginning, and they say that to themselves, that's the suggestion. You're not telling them any suggestions. And then they say it at the end. So it's coming from the client. And basically you bring them deeper than a normal hypnotherapy session. I'd say on average, 90% of the hypnotherapy sessions we do is in alpha and theta range. We rarely go to delta. If we go to delta, you've heard of people falling asleep. It happens, okay? So I'm not saying you don't ever go to delta, but it's more rare. We generally stay in the light state and get something done like quit smoking, jump faster, run, you know, do something that's beneficial, but it's in a lighter state. And so Yoga Nidra is going really deep to get core concepts. You're basically looking at samskars, which are basically habits, as we call them, and tendencies, and they're talking about past births. because that's where they're coming from. So that's the science behind the Yoga Nidra. And they're trying to erase these things. So you're getting rid of these old habits and tendencies that are in seed form that could manifest out. Something that's not even manifest yet, but you have a tendency to just like certain things and dislike certain things. So it's going in there and getting rid of it. So you can use basically Yoga Nidra to stop smoking, but it's mainly used to go all the way and get the impressions that are embedded from a past life. So that's why they go so deep. You're basically in delta, but you're awake. So that's where the argument also that hypnosis is in a limited state and you're not awake, which is a complete lie, because you could see that when you're in hypnosis, you're aware, because you're in control and you can get out of it if you want and walk away. You have free will. So when they say these things, these are all just errors, and I would say that they complement each other. They're a science on their own, but they're definitely, just like Cheryl says, you can't really have imagery without hypnosis, and you can't really have hypnosis without imagery. So you could basically say it's the same thing. There's no real fight. They're just one thing. So that's Yoga Nidra, and that I could have a whole class on Yoga Nidra by itself. It's a huge concept as well, and you could use that with your clients, especially for people that are afraid of hypnosis. If you got people that are more into health and yoga and wellness and the balance, and they like all that, but they're afraid of hypnosis just because of the connotation around it, you can use that. You can use imagery. You can use certain things to get around it. That's just one of the tools you could use. I don't want to go too deep into Yoga Nidra because it is a topic of its own, and I plan to do that further in the other session. But I just want to let you know that the differences and similarities are basically that. What I wanted to get into now was the gunas. So I don't know how many of you know what the gunas are, but they're affecting each and every one of you all the time, including right now. You're actually under the influence of a guna right now. So basically, the gunas, we have the doshas, okay? And there's mental natures that are associated with these doshas. Like I was saying, the vadas will be quick to grasp information and then quick to forget it. That's the mental nature of a vada. Now, what creates these mental natures and attributes? It's a good question. Well, it's the gunas. The gunas are basically modes of nature, and there's three of them. You have sattva, which is goodness, purity, wholeness, and the consciousness is centered inward. It's basically you want to help people and you just have a natural clearness of mind and consciousness. Then you have rajas, which is the guna of activity and restlessness, and it's all about external reality and control and domination and power games. This they say 90% of the people live in a rajastic consciousness or guna state. So most people you see are going to be very ragistic and active. And then you have the last one, which is tamas. And tamasic guna is basically inertia, sleep, dullness, idleness, laziness, lethargy, not caring. And so these are the three natures that affect you at all times. There's not one person on the planet, I don't care who you are, that is not under one of these influences all the time. It's according to your lifestyle too. So let's say if you go out Friday night and you drink a bunch, okay, so you're partying, all stimulated, activated till 2:30 in the morning, then you crash and you're at home sleeping, and someone asks you a question and you're like, oh, I don't know what time it is, and you're totally worthless. You can't even think straight. You got a cloudy mind. That's tamas. And so you have rajas and tamas working together. So you're all stimulating the rajas. Then the tamas comes from being overstimulated. So they kind of work hand in hand. So the idea is to promote sattva if you're seeking a yogic lifestyle. And sattvic lifestyle is basically where you're in that natural state, in that equanimity where your mind isn't disturbed. And you can have certain foods that are sattvic, rajistic, or tamas. And that's determined by the quality of the food. So if you have food that's basically like juicy, succulent, fresh, it's good for you, promotes well-being, promotes health, that's a sattvic food, right? You have certain foods that when you eat it, it promotes restlessness. It promotes the feeling of desire, passion, gain. That's what you want. That's going to be spicy foods, right? So when you take these spicy, pungent foods, those people like those type of foods, and because it gets them to their natural state that they like, which is really an imbalance, but they're comfortable with it. And then you have the tamasic foods, which are basically left in the refrigerator, uncooked, stale, or use preservatives. So these type of foods are to promote laziness, dull mind, and a lower capacity to perform. So with these in mind, the gunas are also playing a part of all of this. So you have the gunas, and you have a person, let's say, and you're speaking to them, and then they're very irritable, and they're walking around, and you're trying to talk to them, and they're like, I don't have time today, I don't want to talk to you, I'm going along my way. You could get offended and take that personal and being like, wow, what's wrong with so-and-so, and why are they treating me like this? Or you could really just say, you know, they're under Rajasic guna right now. It's just a mode of nature and interacting with another mode of nature. And if you're in a sattvic mode, you'll be more concerned with the inner self, and it won't really bother you anyway. Because it's not a self-centered thing, because you're more than willing to give what you have, but your consciousness is centered inward, so you're not really concerned with the external, and that goes back to equanimity. So you have equanimity, which is the goal, right? So, and that's something you can produce in your clients as a goal. Some clients, they don't even know what they want. They come in and they say, they know they want to feel better. Everybody wants to feel better, okay? Or if they feel good, they want to even feel better than that. But so they come in and they don't really know what they want. A safe goal could be equanimity. Because some people, if you're going to give them something, it might be something you want, it might not be something they want, and you don't know what they want. But if you can give them equanimity, that will give them the clarity of mind to decide what they want in a balanced state, instead of coming from a state of chaos or disorganization, right? So it can be really beneficial to your client as a goal, okay, to speak to them about this. So with the gunas and all that, I kind of want to go into mantras. I think we have enough time to do mantras and then some questions, because I want to get into questions too. I know you guys have something to ask me. As far as mantras go, I love mantras because we hear mantras all the time, and we don't even realize it. When you turn on the radio and you hear a song, especially pop songs that are over and over and over again, right? And you hear that song, and it gets in your head, that's a mantra. And you can't get it out. It's like you get a song in your head, and then you're and someone says something, yeah, I'll get it. And then it comes right back, and you're like, wait, I'm not even trying to think of this song. I don't even want it in here anymore. Somebody get it out. But what it is it's a mantra, and it's going over and over in your head, right? And it could be used in hypnosis for a multitude of things. The first thing you use it for is a suggestive style. I love this. You could give them a suggestion in a mantra form. So they're saying it over and over again to themselves in a loop, and it's almost becomes circle therapy without bringing them through circle therapy, but with a suggestion. So why get someone way deep in hypnosis, do all the work to get them there, and then tell them a suggestion, and then tell them the post-hypnotic suggestion and get them out? You gave them one suggestion. I know it might be an important suggestion, but why not get that really into their subconscious? And the way that it learns is through repetition. So the way that you do it is a mantra. So you give them a mantra, something that's like, each and every time I wake up, I feel happy and I'm motivated to work out. Each and every time I wake up, I'm happy and I'm ready and motivated to work out. Something that you just create over and over again. They say that over and over again, and at first, they might not even really believe it. But if they keep hearing it over and over again, they actually start feeling like what they're saying jives. And so then now when they wake up, there'll be a day when they wake up, they won't even consciously say it. It'll just be there, and they'll be saying, I feel happy, I'm motivated to work out. It's saying it in my head, this is really working. Like, all right, I'm going to go to the gym now. I'm going to go do this. So basically, mantra can be used as a suggestive style, but what it can also be used for is a blocking technique for negativity. So you have a client that's dealing with heavy negativity, like there's all this negative energy coming at you, and you're like, what do I do with this? I'm at my workplace, I can't really like just quit my job, even though I'd like to, and there's all this negativity around me, so what do I do? So you have a mantra that's in your head, right? And it could even be something that makes you happy. It doesn't have to be spiritual. It could be, I'm going to make $100,000 a year this year. And so you're saying this to yourself over and over again. I'm going to make $100,000 a year, and everyone's saying this negative energy, but you're thinking, I'm going to make $100,000 a year. I don't really care what you're sending me. And then people are going to start wondering, why is that person so happy? And why, what's going on with me over here? And I mean, I'm sending all this hate, yeah, but they seem pretty happy. So that's the way to conquer negativity, is if you're so focused on something, you can't be focused on the negativity. You don't have your mind in the gutter, it's up here. And it's actually now you're feeding yourself a positive suggestion at the same time. You're killing two birds with one stone. Even though it's not nice to do, but that's what you're doing. So there's that, and then there's also focus. It gets you focused. Because if you don't have focus, you don't have anything. Because you need focus to accomplish anything. So focus is key, especially for Vata people. And like I said, we have 90% of people have a Vata imbalance. And so knowing that, you want to get them focused. And mantras are perfect for Vatas. So you give them a focus mantra, and they get focused for whatever they're going to do. If they have a performance, have them do a mantra before, that they're going to be calm, cool, and collected. And they keep saying to that self. And that suggestion will sink in, but not just that, they'll be focused now. So you're doing multitude of things. So that could be used as a diagnostic tool almost, is mantras. So mantras are basically a miracle. That's what I would say. Mantras are a miracle. The dosha concept is super important, so make sure you go over your dosha concept and get that down. Really study it. And I mean, don't just stop here. Go online, search things. There's some misinformation, but most of the stuff that I checked out has been pretty much correct as far as what a Vata is, what a Pitta is, and what a Kapha is. And if you think something might not really jive by checking and cross-checking, check other websites and see what that website says versus this website. And then whatever makes sense to you, kind of go with that. And for as far as the food goes, just think beyond nutrition. Because a lot of our society focus on what the material elements and minerals are in food, which you could be lacking. But just remember that there's an emotional component of us, and to be consciously aware of eating. Because when you're eating, it's really a sacred act, and whatever the food in front of you that you're consuming has given its life energy for you. And so to be conscious of that, and when you're taking that energy in, be of thanks. Because when you're in a thankful mode, it actually increases your vibration and then the vibration of the food. So when you're taking it in, it becomes one with you. So become a conscious eater. So when you consciously eat something, really become aware of how your body feels after. So when you eat something and it tastes good, but then after you feel kind of like itchy, you notice that. Why do you feel itchy after you eat this particular thing, like the Cheez-Its or something? They're good, right? But then you feel itchy. So what is that? And then there's another thing that makes you, feel kind of like you have heartburn or something. So you could have so many different things happening from food to you, and we just disconnect from that. We just totally put up a wall, and we eat something, and then we go and do our life like it's separate. And then we have all these ailments and problems, and we're like, I don't know why, but I got this headache and backache and all these problems. But we're not really focused on what the food is doing to us. So the food is like medicine, and treat it like medicine. Would you take a whole bottle of poison? I don't think so. But I mean, that's what we do with food. So food's really important. The doshas are important. Just start thinking elementally with the EMP. You could use mantras in there. The goal of everything is immortality and enlightenment. So we have basically the top of the top we're shooting for the highest star. I think that pretty much covers the basics of everything. If anybody has questions, I'm going to really open that up for whatever you guys want to talk about, or any specific topics that you want to delve more into.
If you use mantras during hypnosis, does the therapist just keep repeating mantras, or can the patient also be repeating the mantras in hypnosis?
It's more effective if the patient does it too. If you get them more interactive, even better. You could start out, if they're not comfortable, by saying it to them. And remember, you're going to be doing your homework too. So you're going to be finding out, is this person a physical suggestible or an emotional suggestible, right? And if they're on the high emo, even getting intellectual, of course you're going to want them to say it themselves. But even a physical can do it because they like to do things too. So if you give it to them in an anchor type of way, you can give them the mantra and also give them an anchor. So when they're doing the mantra, you give them the anchor, and every time they do the mantra, that's when they do the anchor, and they'll connect that thought. So eventually they might even just do the anchor, and they'll be in the same place as the mantra, and the mantra might come, the mantra might not come, but they'll be in the state. So that's basically that. So, yes?
Is it possible to change the dosha of a person?
Yes, it is. You can change the dosha. You have a core personality that you're born with, and I would say from 1 to 6 is your core dosha. But it can be changed. It's changed through the lifestyle, through the diet. Like I was explaining with the taste and the elements, you add what you're missing to balance out, because it's all about balancing. You don't want to be like walking around being like, I am a Vata. Like, you are a Vata, but that's an imbalance, okay? So you actually want to lower your Vata. You always want to focus on lowering. So if you're eating apples increase Vata. So you might think you're eating healthily, but you're increasing your Vata in the air. So you want to eat things that are actually going to bring down your level of air. So you can change it, but the core personality is from 1 to 6, and it's the way that you really respond to something quickly. So if there was 3 people that walked into a bank and it was a Vata, Pitta, and a Kapha, they would have 3 different reactions. And let's say they're trying to rob the bank, okay? Or someone was robbing the bank, and they all see this one guy robbing the bank with a gun. Well, the Kapha person's going to be like, I don't care. And what is this person doing here bothering me anyway? I'm at the bank. And then the Pitta person's going to be like, does that guy have a gun? And then like, should I do something? Maybe I should do something. The Vata person is going to notice it and just freeze because they're so anxiety. It'll just be like, oh, it's happening, So the reactions of those, you could see that's the personality of the person. No matter what dosha there are, from being in balance or not, they have the core one, and it's usually their first response to a situation. So you could give them numerous different types of situations, or even in a questionnaire, how would you react in this situation? What would you first do? And whatever their question would be, you can decide what their core personality is. So the dosha, or your physical body, will change, but the core personality usually stays the same, mostly. I would like akin to suggestibility and sexuality. Your sexuality is your core personality, and then the suggestibility, or how you take in the information, would be your actual dosha, which changes.
Do you have something in writing about what you just tell us? Do you have something on writing?
I'm creating, there's a 3-hour course coming up that I'm doing that's similar to this, but it goes way more in deep to everything. It's an in-depth version. This is just a taste of everything, an introduction. So I'm creating actually a handbook that has all this information in it and more, like stuff that I can't even go over in the class that is like, yeah.
Will it be available in your school?
Yes, it will be. Yes, in September.
And with that, will that give you the format to balance your...
Exactly. You're going to get everything, what the tastes do, what ones do what type of lifestyle you should be living. It's basically a lifestyle because it's how you should be living. Like no one really, when you were born, no one really gave you an instruction manual and said, this is the right way to live life, and you could do whatever you want. You just were taught by example. But basically this way, it's the correct way. So it's going to give you not only that, but the correct way to live your life, when to eat, when to shower. Like for instance, just an information, you shouldn't shower after you eat because it takes all the blood away from your digestion. But these are things I wasn't aware of. Who was even connecting that? So it goes into every aspect of your life. So that's why it's lifestyle counseling. It truly is a lifestyle. And then the yogic techniques on top of that are the things like the mantras and the breathing. And there's also other things I didn't get into today that are instant mood lifters, which one's called Brahmari or bee humming. And it's a way that I'm going to teach that in the class, that you can raise your vibration through frequencies, sonic frequencies, instantly. And it's been scientifically proven that you can raise it instantly, out of a bad mood into a good mood.
It's called what?
It's called Brahmari, or bee humming. Yeah. There's Brahmari, and then there's also connecting the male and the female sides, because you have your male side and your female, and they're disconnected. And the idea is to connect them to the third eye, the left and right side. And so you do that through certain breathing techniques, with breathing through alternate nostrils, and that's another thing you can do with your client, which works the first time. So when they actually feel it, just like the breathing technique, you felt a little bit, you feel that even more, that calm, that relaxation. It's amazing. And it lasts. It lasts a long time.
When you say
Yes, sir.
male and female, are you talking about the chakras?
Yeah, I'm speaking about the channels, which is you have the Kundalini channel in your center, as Sushumna, and then you have Pingala and Ida, which is basically the male and the female. And the Kundalini one is usually blocked, because chakras are actually knots or energy centers, but they're it's like a train, and they stop at the stations, but if you have a dirty station, it stops there. And so there's levels that you're going up, and when you reach here with the male and female, you're like enlightened. So but when you're in a balanced state, yeah, I'm talking about the aspect of the male and the feminine, and balancing those, and that's sort of what we're going through as a whole. It used to be kind of like women weren't allowed to vote. It was very patriarchal, and now it's sort of being flipped upside down, and then it's going to kind of balance out to where it's both of the male and female energies are working in everybody, And so by balancing those two out, that's where you reach the first goal, which is equanimity. So when you have the male and the females totally balanced out, you're basically in equanimity, which is your logical and your reasoning versus your creative mind. covers both. So, any other questions? Burning desires? Okay, well, that's good. I think that about covers everything. Thanks for coming. It was a real pleasure, and I think we learned a lot. And I look forward to continuing teaching in the 3-hour event. I look to see you guys there, hopefully. And thanks for coming again. I'm Kyle McQueen, certified hypnotherapist.